there, hi there, ho there, you are welcome as can be. Welcome back to Comic Book 101 TV. I, of course, am your wonderful, beautiful, printiful host, the one and only Princess of Weird, Josh Johnson. And to my left...
You're right, there's nobody there.
Yeah,
Let's see if I can talk this week.
Yes,
That's going to be the challenge. It's me, Michael.
And if you don't, I've got a new game for us. Every time Michael stutters on a word, you take a shot at home.
Yes, you.
That's right.
Not me.
You at home.
Drive.
Yeah, he's got to drive people home. But that's nevertheless, every time Michael stutters or I stutter, you take one official shot. It's the Comic Book 101 drinking game. We might have to sell shot glasses somewhere down the line.
Yeah, we're going to have to make our own shot glasses for this game.
We're definitely going to have some things coming down the pipeline.
Because if anybody watches, they know I stumble every bloody week. So
there you go.
We're going to get drunk with this show then.
But once again, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world this week, but you are with us here on Comic Book 101 TV. So thank you all for joining us. Of course, we need to do our housekeeping, tidy up the place a little bit from last week because we have a lot of stuff that's been going on.
Yeah, it's been quite busy lately. Some good news coming out of the works.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, our good friends over at Yancey Street Comics have been doing their special sales over the claim sales over the past few days, over the weekend and stuff. I believe their new one comes to an end at 10 o'clock tonight, so that'll definitely be worth checking out. You can get some autographed prints, some autographed comics for for the low.
I didn't win any last week.
No, you did not.
I did not.
And there was some that went really cheap. Had you have checked before you had gone.
So I bid early Friday. I'm like, okay, let me keep it. But for whatever reason, Facebook decided, hey, we're going to mess with Mike and not give him notifications when other people comment on it.
Yeah.
So I missed it. I was focused on work. Then I'm like, oh, my comics. Looked and it's over. I'm like, damn, I didn't win.
Yeah, that tends to happen from time to time. Unfortunately for Michael, but fortunately for you out there, you can still go out, hit up their eBay store, hit up them on Facebook, because within the next few weeks, we've already been all told, May the 20th, I believe, we're going to start getting more of new comic books are going to start.
Yay,
Diamond Distributions is finally giving out. Now, there are still some new DCs that have been coming out due to two other new distributors with DC Comics. But as we've said in previous issues, we are not going to talk about them on this show. We're going to wait till everybody can catch up and be on the same exact page.
And for comic shop wise, also my friend John Moshi over at Coliseum of Comics, again, we've been talking, they're doing contactless pickup. So you pre-order everything, drive right outside the door, they'll drop it off to the thing. They've also been doing a lot of specials lately. If you follow them on their Facebook page, they've been doing a lot of interviews with comic book artists and everything, so definitely go check them out as well.
Yeah, definitely you want to go and check them out. Michael, is there anybody else that they should be checking out that you know of?
Besides us.
Besides us, yes.
Besides us.
And Nerd Talk each and every week. I do got to say that you
follow my photography page. Book photo shoots. That's who you should follow.
At Cosplay in Tampa Bay to follow the one and only Mr. Michael Stanley. Of course, if you would like to donate to this wonderful, wonderful TV station known as WeBeam TV, you can do so by using the Cash App and dropping us a little bit of a thank you, all that great stuff. It helps keep the station running. $, WeBeam TV. Donate any kind of money to the station. It helps us go a long way, given everything that's been going on. Helps us, keep this show as well as other shows on the air. So as you go through the day, please use that Cash App to donate to us. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please send us an email at home@comicbook101tv. That's home@comicbook101tv for all of your questions, comments, and concerns. And if you would like to be a sponsor on this show, please message us at info@comicbook101tv.com. For all of your sponsorship needs, we are here. We provide a weekly TV show that you can see. You've already been watching for the past 15 weeks.
If you work at a convention and you want to set your convention, shoot us a message.
Yes, exactly.
We'll come do a show at the convention. We'll interview whatever people. We'll bring the whole crew down there.
We are willing to shill ourselves for a quick buck here at Comic Book 101 TV, and you can do so by hitting us up at info. I keep saying at info at Comic Book 101 TV.
One other thing, for everybody that's been following our pages, I've been posting these little weekly videos every week.
Yes, the TikToks.
Yeah, little TikTok. So if you do TikTok, go to Cosplay in Tampa Bay, and you can see all the videos. I also show them on our Comic Book 101 page and Nerd Talk.
Yes,
So
and also our Instagram page. There's so many great places you can follow us on social media at Comic Book 101 TV. But we're going to continue on now, ladies and gentlemen. It's time
shameless plug for that.
for our new comics of the week. Yes, indeedy. Even though the comic book stores have been shut down, we still have been doing new comic books each and every week, because just because new ones aren't coming out doesn't mean something old isn't new to you again. So let's get into it. Let's hit our graphics. Let's get all set up here. Are we ready for some new comics?
I think so. Are the fans ready?
I believe they are. I'm going to start off this week with my first comic that I read this week. It actually came out not too long ago, which I was thoroughly surprised with, and it was a great read. This was Hellboy versus Lobster Johnson in the Ring of Death. Two legends doing battle in Mexico. And what made this comic so unique, Michael, was the fact that this is actually, even though it's a comic book talking about Hellboy and Lobster Johnson, it was basically like those, no, entirely different character. Lobster Johnson was actually kind of like El Santo or the Blue Demon, and stuff like that. If you remember those old Lucha Libre films we were talking about when Mark Muncy was on here and stuff, that is how Lobster Johnson's portrayed, as his normal superhero routine and stuff like that. But he is also fighting Hellboy, who's making his actorial debut in this movie, and Hellboy and a BPRD agent are watching the film. At the end of the comic, the BPRD agents, it's like, wow, that must have been some adventure, Hellboy. It seemed pretty cool and stuff. He's like, you didn't know the half of it. Well, then they tell you the half of it in the next story, which is the continuation. You find out that Hellboy was drunk for most of the time, and they fired him. Hence why the ending of the movie is like some other dude playing him. Whole thing. Really great comic. I love my Hellboy comics, and this was really great because it was right up my alley with the Mexican Lucha Libre and stuff like that. So really great comic to check out. What was your first comic of the week?
Before I do that, I gotta eat this pillow. For some reason, there's a pillow under me, and it just made me feel awkward.
And you just shrunk a whole 5 inches, so congratulations.
I'll sit up.
Mr. Fantastic, you are not.
This pillow was just getting uncomfortable. All right, so my first comic, actually, because they announced there's a movie for this coming out, of the series, Justice League Dark. They're going to be doing a movie, apparently. So it's Justice League Dark number 12. Newly powered Mordo gets his power up. The Justice League Dark have become the Lords of Chaos to stop Dr. Fate before it's too late. But with this deal and the devil calls... But...
Wait, is that a first take? A shot of the week! Take a shot!
But will this deal... with the devil costs more than Wonder Woman and her team bargained for?
Most likely, because we are dealing with Justice League Dark here. There's Constantine. There's a lot of
I like the
characters.
darker side because you get Zatanna, you get Constantine, which is one of my favorite
Which is actually
characters.
what's going to be bringing the DC animated universe to an end here soon when they do the Justice League Dark movie, the second one, because they already did one before this. It'll be the sequel to the sequel of all the sequels. But because if you know anything about the DC animated universe, it is exactly like Marvel's cinematic universe, where each film ties one into the other, one into the other, one into the other, for the most part, because there are a few one-shots and stuff. So if you're watching Superman Red Son, that does not necessarily impact on Justice League Dark or Crisis on Two Earths or whatever, Infinite Earths, whatever you may be watching at the time. But for the most part, everything is interconnected. My next book of the week is actually something that, if you go and check out our back issues, our archives, I have been talking about how I've wanted to read this comic book since day one-ish here on Comic Book 101 TV. I finally read The Rise of Kylo Ren Star Wars 4-issue miniseries. Now, issue 1 had 2 different variant covers, and then the rest of them, 2, 3, and 4, all had one cover. But you get to see how Kylo Ren went. Like, if you remember in Rise of Skywalker, there's the scene where you see Luke Skywalker prematurely attacking Kylo, which causes him to not have trust in the Jedi Order. Everything goes to heck. And then the next time we pick up with Kylo Ren, he's already been a Knight of Ren, this, that, and the other. This fills in the gap of how he became into the Knights of Ren and got his spot in it, including killing Ren himself. the Knights of Ren. Ren is dead, so they are now the Knights of Kylo. And because he kept the Ren at the end of his name, they are now the Knights of Kylo Ren. Really interesting story. I thought I wasn't going to enjoy it as much as I continued on with it. But like as I kept going and putting into context between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and then more so everything pre the films and stuff, really, as we've talked about, like this is one of those books, especially we see in Star Wars all the time, where they add way more to the content that was ever in the films. Really interesting story because
the film, in the last film, we only got a little bit of the Knights of Ren in there.
Yes, and
so it was good to get a comic with actually the full backstory.
There were some of the students of Luke Skywalker in that Jedi Temple. There were 3 of them specifically who survived the onslaught of Kylo Ren, like that whole Luke turning on Kylo and Kylo bringing down the Luke's Jedi Temple and stuff. There were 3 students of Luke's who were away who show up as everything is burning. And instantly they're like, Kylo, what's going on? You know, Ben, what's going on? Ben Solo, what's going on? Because Ben is Kylo Ren. You know, trying to figure out...
Oh my God, Ben's Kylo?
Yeah.
Spoiler!
But, you know, they're trying to figure out what's going on, and then it leads to the 3 Jedi students trying to hunt and kill Kylo Ren, and Kylo's having none of it. It was really... I really recommend this story. Like, I had a lot of great books this week, but if you're into Star Wars, you love Kylo Ren, like I talked about the Boba Fett book some weeks ago, Kylo Ren is definitely up there with it.
And speaking of Star Wars, quick rabbit trail, May the 4th, it was announced.
Oh,
it's coming to Disney Plus.
Yes, Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi is already come there. We've got The Mandalorian coming there for a documentary feature. So much great Star Wars stuff coming out. May the 4th is coming.
Be a good day right there for Disney Plus.
My Revenge of the 5th will be way better because then I'll actually start watching stuff. I don't celebrate May the 4th. Give me the 5th.
What day is May the 4th? May the 4th? Oh, it's a Monday, so it's okay. We'll be able to celebrate it before...
You know what? That's what we'll do.
And May the 5th...
Revenge of the 5th. We're going to do an all Star Wars episode. We're going to talk Star Wars comics. We're talking Legends. We're talking...
Okay, no, that's fine. I know we had something else.
Yeah, we had something.
We're going to swerve it for Star Wars next week. Why
because
not?
We've actually gotten to the point now, we're 15 episodes into this, and we didn't think we would actually gel as well as we have, everything coming together as well as it has. We've actually got 3 episodes now kind of planned. We just got to write out scripts and actually film it and everything and be here live for you. But Star Wars next week.
Star Wars next week.
So we've got 3 weeks worth of material, Michael. Hey, we're doing stuff
that's
now.
Good.
Yeah,
we're working ahead and being productive.
I'm breaking 3rd and 4th walls. Watch, see, I'm breaking 3rd, 4th.
No looking at the camera. Don't look at the TV.
Oh, sorry. Nevertheless, what was your other book of this week?
So my next book is what was it?
Over the Garden Wall.
Over the Garden Wall.
Now you know nothing about this, do you?
It was.
This was one of those. Hold on. Was this one of those books in that pile? For the show?
The first, during Nerd Talk a few weeks ago, Elizabeth gave me a stack of comics, and she's like, here you go, these are some doubles and some collectibles I don't need, and gave me them, and this was one of them. Greg tries to help a squirrel prepare for winter, while Anna records her lonely days in the woods in her journal.
Now, do you know anything about this book? Do you know anything about the series?
Not much besides that one comic.
This little bit.
It's cute.
I might, you know what? I had stated to you before
artwork.
that I wasn't going to take anything out of that bag of comics, but I'm revoking that. I'm officially claiming this for me this week, if you do not mind. Because believe it or not, Over the Garden Wall...
It's really cute. If Rob can zoom in on that.
Go to the sky. He said lower it a little bit. So if we can, right there.
There we go.
All right. There we go. You can see a little bit of the artwork there. Now, did you know that one of the creator of Over the Garden Wall...
And it's from Kaboom Studios.
Well, did you know the creator of Over the Garden Wall is actually somebody who worked on a little special series of mine that we're going to get into here in a second? And they kind of interconnect like all the other shows that interconnect with this show.
So it has to do with your hat.
Yes, it does, and it has to do with the next book I read this week, which is my good old friend right here, Gravity Falls Shorts, just west of Weird, and it was actually a 4-issue series that they collected into a trade paperback, which is what I read. Now, this was a really unique book because if you are a fan of Gravity Falls in any way, shape, or form, and actually have gotten to see some of of the short films or short animated features that they put out on Disney Plus over the years, where it was Dipper's Guide into the Mysteries, Mabel's how-to thing. Like, they did a bunch of different ones. They're all collected in this book in comic form. So if you didn't get the chance to actually watch them on YouTube, watch them on Disney Plus, or if you're like me and own the actual collector's edition of Gravity Falls that has everything in it, you would have those in there. But if you actually want to read the stories, you can go to Barnes & Noble, you can go to pretty much any comic shop, even sometimes Walmart and stuff will have Just West of Weird because of how popular Gravity Falls is, and there isn't a lot of material for it. So, yeah, I'm definitely probably claiming claim to that one. I know I said I wouldn't take any books.
Well, no, this was from the first stack.
From the first stack. Oh,
which she gave me personally. There's still a whole, I have even went through a bag of other ones when I was over at her house that she's like, here, take these too.
All right.
And she still has more.
Since it's in the first bag, I can't take claim to it because it's not technically for the show. So I guess you can continue.
I'll look through the bag, see if there's any more of those in the other one.
All right. So now your last comic for the week.
So it's Gotham Academy. It kind of reminded me of Sabrina the Teenage Witch and part of it.
New or old Sabrina?
New.
All right,
the darker Sabrina.
I'm not a big fan of the darker Sabrina. I have my whole issues.
Well, I love the darker Sabrina because that's true to the comics.
No. It's true to a newer comic.
For the newer, not yet.
Yeah. But even then, like, I'm gonna go off on a whole tangent.
But it goes well with the other show that's on CW.
Yeah, you mean
the Archie show.
Yeah, the Riverdale show. Because mind you, Archie, Riverdale, all these,
it's
Sabrina.
Of all them. They're in the same universe.
Yeah, because pretty much because Archie has kind of become a little stale. You know, like any other characters in comic books, after somewhat of a time, you can only be writing characters a certain way. Archie has had to update to the modern era. Sabrina's had to update to the modern era, which I didn't really mind too much till I started seeing how Sabrina updated. Now, I don't want to get into a lot of stuff here on why I have issue with it and stuff like that because of personal issues, but the fact that they heavily basically state that Sabrina is basically a bride of Satan or some weird kind of thing and has magical powers. The two do not correlate. You're combining religions. I could get really offensive on certain things here, but I'm not going to just because it's a family show. But that's a big reason why I had issues with it because I'm like, his story, like accurate to a certain thing, no, I'm sorry, I can't do with it, but that's neither here nor there. But
well, in this one, Olive joins.
No, I'm also talking about Rob's in my ear. He's like, it's a comic book. It's more than that, Rob. Even though it's a comic book, it's a TV series. Like I said, there are certain things that I could really say about it, but it might get to a line of offensive. So I'm going to
the show goes from normal Sabrina. Yes, she has magic, but also dives in a world of the occult and everything.
Yeah, but so when we say occult, we mean satanic church and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which how it's depicted in the show is one, not how the satanic church is, nor is it how practitioners of witchcraft and paganism and all that are. So they took two religions, combined them into one, and went, oh, it's okay because it's all fictitious. If somebody were to do that with certain other religions, there would be a lot bigger of a controversy. So this is where I'm going to kind of end this chat of my issues with that series. But back to Gotham Academy. Please.
Olive joins the Academy of Creepy Order of the Bat, an after-school activity, and we learn a lot more of her creepy past that she has.
That we do. And once again, this is Gotham Academy, kind of a newer series for DC Comics.
Yeah.
Now, that takes care
definitely worth reading up on.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And there was two different covers for this one. This was actually issue number 2 that you happened to pick up.
Yeah.
We showed both of the variant covers here just a little bit ago.
Actually, all 3 issues came from our friend Elizabeth.
Yes. Except for my comics. I got mine all on my own.
All 3 of mine.
But we're going to move on. That's our new comics for the week. Now we're going to move into our action figure purchases of the week in our figure purchases of the week. All right, I'm going to start this one off again because I've had a little bit of fun picking up toys. Now, I have opened up one of these in the past episode of Comic Book 101 TV. One of the things that I opened up was the first of Series 1 WWF S.T.O.M.P by Jakks Pacific, which features one of the most insensitive action figures ever created. It is not this one. That one will be opened on a later date because I love these figures. I keep purchasing them. I will eventually open all of Series 1 on this show at some point. But this week, we are opening the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, Brandon Rhymes' good friend. I don't know anymore, but we'll pretend that they're still friends and stuff like that. But
UFC champion,
UFC
champion,
former Intercontinental champion, and now guy with a gun who's going to shoot you as...
Ken Shamrock doesn't need a gun, though.
Because, once again, S.T.O.M.P stands for... He might, Rob's like, he might at this age now. Actually, sadly, no. I've seen one of his matches recently where he went against a dude way younger than him. And
no, he still has to have that.
Yeah,
big
he still has it. Because the dude, literally, the match starts with the guy running, diving out of the ring in a suicide dive, and Ken Shamrock doesn't put up his hands or anything and gets the dude's head right into his head at high speeds. But we're going to open this one. This is a special tactical operations military police, or S.T.O.M.P. There's a whole backstory that was supposed to be revealed with these, because we were supposed to see, please see S.T.O.M.P. A11 for the continuation of the story.
And it
never came out. And then we got Series 2 of the figures, which was supposed to have more explanation, and that never happened. And then we got Series 3, because Series 2, they went underwater. Series 3, they were in the jungles and stuff. Series 3, they went to space. And yeah, I just love these figures. Let's open it up. Oh my goodness, I just found out something. Somebody had opened my figure previously and put tape on it. Oh well, all the accessories are there. That's all that matters. I like to make sure that everything is in there. I don't care, because I was going to open it anyway. I mostly wanted to make sure that all of his weapons, his accessories, were in it, and they are. Here's his little Ken Shamrock. I've got a tactical vest. Oh, look at that. That's just amazingness. You will see toys like this every so often when it comes to professional wrestling. Any character toy, eventually they will release some kind of toy where it's not their normal run-of-the-mill gear, not normal run-of-the-mill stuff, just so they can try something new. In WWF and Jakks tried it with the S.T.O.M.P series. It lasted all the way to S.T.O.M.P Series 3. We're stomping in paradise if you're a fan of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast like I am. There you go. There's your Ken Shamrock S.T.O.M.P figure. I still got more of these to come. I've got Undertaker, Steve Austin, Ahmed Johnson, which is by far the most racially insensitive toy I think ever produced.
Yeah, that one definitely is.
You'll see it coming here in some weeks, ladies and gentlemen. But WWF S.T.O.M.P.
So my toy is not really a toy this time.
No.
Like my jackets last week weren't a toy. Because I've got some stuff on order that we're going to premiere on the show in a few weeks. I went ahead and dug something up from New York Comic Con this past October. Marvel officially has a whole jewelry line, comic book jewelry. And what intrigued me was when I was looking at their booth, a lot of great jewelry, and they had a shield ring, and I was talking to the guy, I'm like, oh, only if it was something Hydra, because you know me, I love Hail Hydra all the way.
This is going to be this weird thing, ladies and gentlemen, where if you've been following us for 15 weeks, you know 9 times out of 10 over on my side of the red side of the fence, it's 99% villains. I am always about the villains. Loki, Darth Vader. I can go on and on about my favorite bad guys in the history of the world. But this is the one time where we're different. We're opposites on this one, because I'm actually cosplay as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've been doing it for quite some time. I hate anything to do with Hydra. Even when we did Captain America the Winter Soldier, we got those great scenes with Hail Hydra and stuff. Cool for their characters and stuff, but I still hated every minute of it, because I'm sorry, I can't get into an organization that was started by a bunch of Nazis.
So, I still love it. I'm still Hydra. So if we can pull up the pictures real quick. But I pull out.
Well, so, easy with what you're pulling out there.
So you have the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo there. Take it off. Under it has the Hydra logo.
Yeah, and that will indent onto your finger.
Yeah, it definitely leaves imprint on my finger when I wear it all day.
And especially if you're wearing it for prolonged use and stuff. And this is kind of something that you would have seen in the shows, the movies, whatever, the comics, because S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra being so closely related to one another, and as we see in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, that these two organizations kind of have to help each other at sometimes, just so that they both can exist into the world.
So when I went there, he showed me that. I'm like, all right, it was the last one. Hopefully they had my size. They did. So when you open it, you have the certificate of authenticity.
Dear Lord, they just showed the price tag on that bad boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, dude?
All right. Again, reason it's that expensive, it is silver and it is gold. It's not plated. It's not fake any which way. As I've had.
It's every which way but loose.
I picked up an Infinity Gauntlet ring and it turns your finger green. So when you open this, it has a Hydra logo hidden somewhere.
Hey, check it out. Now we've made a Run the Jewels poster.
But there you go. When you open it, you have the ring nicely tucked in there.
All we need is a little lower third that says Run the Jewels. I'm telling you.
But yeah, it's sized for me perfectly. And I love it. I've worn it a few times to work and other events. And I'll definitely wear it again to other conventions.
See, that was a big thing with me when I had bought my first Princess Tiara ring. Was I bought it at Hot Topic. It looked like Princess Aurora's. Unfortunately, it turned my finger green, which I absolutely hated, even though it was supposed to be.
Well, that's why I told the guy, because when I was talking to him before I found out the price, I'm like, oh, I bought the Infinity Gauntlet ring and turned my finger green. But again, it wasn't.
It's more of a costume jewelry kind of ring.
Costume jewelry.
So, and then to finish my story out, like the one that I now currently wear that is on my pinky, if we can see it and whatnot. My new Princess Tiara ring, I actually purchased inside of the Disney parks and wanted to make sure that it was 100. You can kind of see it there over Ken Shamrock's face a little bit. I want to make sure that it was 100% silver. I paid a little bit more than I paid for the last one, but I guarantee this princess ring is better than any others I've had, and many people now bow down, kiss the ring, and never forget. I've got my eye on them.
That's why I like it, because it is silver, it is gold. I didn't pay the price that's shown on the website. I got a little bit of a discount for the show.
Oh, okay.
And everything. So not much, but enough of a discount to say, let me go ahead and buy it. And
all right.
There were a few big purchases last year, and that was definitely one of them. And check out their website. They got a lot of cool jewelry on there.
Yes, yes, they do. Now, we're going to move and switch gears. That is everything we've purchased this week. So now it's Michael Stanley's specialty this time, or this segment, because now it is time for our Cosplayer of the Week. We really need something better for these names. If you guys out there have any suggestions for what we should be calling these segments, please leave them in the comments below.
So, Cosplayer of the Week.
Can I say his name? Because I just love the name.
Go ahead, say the name.
All right. Please follow them on Instagram at Shankovich0720. Shankovich 0720.
He's
just
really
Shankovich.
Happy to say that name.
Well, because I Shankovich at least every once a weekend. So
what actually, how I found him, an item I bought, Power Ranger related, this gentleman has as well, and I loved his cosplays. We started talking and found out what got him in cosplay. He needed to focus on what to do after he got out of the military, and he always loved comic books, anime, and the geek culture, and cosplay was a positive force that got him through a lot of tough times. He loves to cosplay characters, source material he really enjoys. I can get into the mindset of the character, and it makes putting on the costume a lot more fun. His favorite is One Punch Man, which is a great outfit right there. His next cosplay, he's putting together Red. I can't even pronounce the name, so forgive me. Ryo Saga Ranger from Super Sentai.
Oh, nice. The Super Sentai series, for those of you who don't know, is actually the precursor to the Power Ranger series in Japan.
He's hoping to get that done by the end of the year. So I loved, there's his Deku. He does a great Power Ranger, Old Man Ranger. And that got me actually involved and curious to try something. So if we can go back to the Old Man Ranger, you'll see a little morpher on his chest. It's battle damage, and that's actually what I got coming, hopefully, this week.
Yeah, a battle damage morpher. There you see it really quick. But that is our cosplayer of the week. Very nice cosplays there. I thought, like you said, those Power Rangers ones were really unique. I like that concept. I like that idea. I might tag along with you. We might have to have a whole deconstructed end of the middle age crisis.
So yes,
Rangers.
That's what I'm working on for a cosplay. When everything opens back up, I have the battle damage morpher coming in, and I actually have a helmet coming in.
Nice.
So
now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to start talking. Each and every week we take a character in all of comic book land and we dissect them in a thorough dissection of dissectionness.
I don't want to dissect her, though.
Oh, we're dissecting her.
No, she'll hurt me, no.
We are talking this week about one of my favorite characters. And,
one of the...
legit,
actually, the strongest character in the Marvel Universe.
And not just the Marvel Universe there, Michael. This, our character spotlight of the week, is on the most powerful being in all of the Omniverse. Now, we've talked about multiverses. We've talked about singularity universes and stuff like that. So we've even talked about megaverses. But we've never talked about an Omniverse on this show. Now, for those of you sitting there going, Josh, what the hell are you talking about? I know Omni kind of means one, and that's exactly it. The Omni universe is every conceivable universe that exists. That means our reality, the DC reality, the Golden Girls, Marvel Comics, Transformers, heck, John Wick. Pick up anything in this book, it's part of the Omniverse. Star Wars, Disney, Warner Brothers, everything exists in the Omniverse. And our character spotlight of the week is on the Phoenix herself, Jean Grey, specifically as the Phoenix, but this is where things got really interesting for us in our character spotlight. So Jean Grey would make her very first appearance in X-Men #1 all the way back when Stan Lee was writing the characters. Now, and Jack Kirby was illustrating. Now, what made this her first, obviously this is her first appearance, the first time anybody ever seen Jean Grey, at the time known as Marvel Girl, and in this continuity of the comics at the time, because it was still relatively new, it was 1963, she was the only female member. So every male in the team, whether it be Cyclops, Beast, Xavier, Wolverine and Nightcrawler and them don't come till much later on. Just the original, because they were all whites and they were all males except for Jean Grey. The original, the 1963 one that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did, they would all hit on her. She was the only female character, so she was kind of the token female character, so they would constantly be hitting on her and stuff like that. And not to mention, the way the comics were then for the X-Men, yeah, it was a somewhat popular title, but you wouldn't see the X-Men rise into popularity to what it became today.
To the Uncanny series.
To the Uncanny X-Men series that would come out way after the fact. Now, it would continue the X-Men series by Stan Lee, but these Uncanny X-Men books, boy howdy did they take it to a whole new level, because they were the ones to introduce characters like Wolverine from Canada, Nightcrawler, who was somewhat of German descent, Russian descent with Colossus. This was the team that really started showing that this is what it means to be an X-Men. If you are different in any kind, shape, sense of the form, this is what being a mutant's all about. Yeah. It's not just one person or one group of people. It's all these different types of people. And what made it even more interesting is by the time they got to issue 100, the creators of the book at the time were given free range of, they wanted to kill Jean Grey and bring her back, because the character had gotten kind of stale. You know, she could only do so much with her telekinetic powers and stuff. And then, by just so happenstance, there was a discussion at the Marvel bullpen at the time of, we need an Omega level threat in the X-Men. We need somebody like, you know, Doomsday and Apocalypse and think of the biggest bads, Galactus and everything. We need something like that in the X-Men. And the creator at the time who was working on it decided, well, I've got the perfect person for that. If we kill Jean Grey, bring her back to life, and kind of run with this whole Phoenix storyline that they were kind of thinking of at the time.
Then she's already the strongest mutant at that time period. Kill her and make her even stronger.
Yes, she was, even then, she was kind of strong, but not as strong as she would become, because when she becomes the Phoenix, even before becoming full-on Dark Phoenix, she's already at Omega level in the Omniverse. So that means, and this is something that we haven't fully discussed yet, is there's Jean Grey the person, and then what makes her the Phoenix isn't just because she puts on a new costume or something like that. She actually gets infiltrated by this power, this cosmic entity known as the Phoenix Force, which is actually a living representation of all life and passion in the Omniverse. This is why it's the most powerful thing in all of it, because if the Phoenix Force were to die, all of reality as we know it in the Omniverse would die with it. So that means there are no new comic books. There's no life on, like, we joke with everything going on that we're in an apocalypse and stuff, but legit, no life would exist if the Phoenix Force were to be extinguished. Yeah, it can take on many different forms in any different plane of existence. Which brings me to some other things that are hidden in the background, and stay tuned to New Heights Wrestling. But nevertheless, on that, you see Jean Grey go from the lovable Jean Grey to become the Phoenix, who is an entirely different personality, then to evolve into the Dark Phoenix, where she goes and kills an entire planet, commits genocide to rejuvenate her power, and then is supposed to be put on trial for the genocide. A lot of amazing stuff happens within this book series, and it was all collected in the Dark Phoenix Saga Omnibus that showcases this character that, believe it or not, as much as most of us love the character, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later on, about how the films didn't really add up to what we got in the comic books.
The only thing that did, which we'll talk about later, is the animated series.
Yes. But if we really dissect and divulge what the Phoenix Force is, both of the two films did a decent job at explaining something of using the Phoenix Force, because it is this omnipotent thing that exists in any way, shape, or form it wants to, in any way, shape, and form of the universe it wants to. So here it'll look one way, here it'll look another. In DC Comics, they could call it something entirely different, but it's still technically the Phoenix Force. So that's what makes this character so unique. So even more so of that, there have been other people who have been possessed by the Phoenix Force over the years, until modern continuity. Cyclops has had it. Colossus has had the Phoenix Force. A few plethora of characters.
They still never became as strong as...
No, they didn't become as strong as Jean Grey was, but that's all because Jean Grey was the perfect host for the Phoenix. It literally scouted Jean Grey from the time she was a child till adulthood to know that this was going to be its perfect host. The Phoenix Force is a lot smarter and intelligent than anyone will ever give it credit because of how powerful of a being it is. Now, I know you've got some things in your mind that you want to say about this right now, because like the research I've done on this, it really opened my eyes as to how powerful the Phoenix Force truly is, because I've always associated it with just Jean Grey. Jean Grey is the Phoenix. No, there have been multiple ones throughout the history of the years, and for that power to be that
chased after it, wanting to obtain
exactly.
it as well.
So it's a really unique power. What do you got to say about these Uncanny books that first introduced the Phoenix?
I've always loved the whole storyline. It's one of the first ones I read when I was younger, and that's why I wanted to do her, because she's such a great character and how strong she is.
Now, the one thing that we'll continuously talk about in this...
Go ahead.
Is anytime the Phoenix is going to be brought up from here till eternity, basically, as we know of a Phoenix, whether you've watched Harry Potter, you know of the mythical creature or anything like that, the whole purpose of a Phoenix is to die and be reborn again from the ashes and stuff.
My Phoenix tattoo.
I didn't even know you had that. But with this being said, anytime the Phoenix comes up in X-Men comics, it will be the death of what is ever going on in X-Men at the time, and what comes after will be the new rebirth. So anytime X-Men has ever hit a standstill or a stale moment, throw the Phoenix in there some way, shape, or form, we'll restart everything, because that's her power. And we'll talk about it a little bit more in the movies here about why that was a perfect plot device.
So let's talk about how did they defeat her in the Uncanny universe?
In the original Uncanny universe, she actually commits suicide because she realizes how powerful the Phoenix is, and for it to go unchecked would literally wipe out all of existence in their timeline.
Nobody could defeat her at that time.
Exactly. Well, technically, if they went with the X-Men 3 theory, Wolverine might have been able to help. But that's neither here nor there. It's really unique because Jean Grey was put on trial at the time, facing the genocide charges, and she even knew, like, I can't live on past this. Now, mind you, there was an entire story arc that they were going to run with this, in which Jean Grey would just give up her mutant abilities, give up the Phoenix power and everything, and would be a normal human, and then would have had to live as a normal human. Magneto would have come in and tried offering her absolute power. She would have rejected it and stuff like that. But after having a huge bullpen conversation at Marvel, it became one of those things of, she just killed thousands of millions of people on one planet.
She becomes a normal human.
With a blink of the eye. She didn't care, wasn't fazed by it. For her not to face any kind of judgment for that would have been, you know, it would have been like WWE booking at times. You know, like, all right, we're going to start this story with Kane and another guy named Kane, but it's not working, so we're just going to cut it. No, like, at least they were smart enough to give us a good ending that fit the story that they were trying to tell with the character.
The next time we would see it would be what, X-Men 91?
Actually, the next time we would see, because the Dark Phoenix saga incorporates two different parts of the Uncanny X-Men universe. We would actually, to continue the story of Jean Grey, because she would come back as the Phoenix a couple of times in that time period. And even then, at one point you find out that technically she was a clone and not the real Jean Grey, and then that clone's working for the Hellfire Club but thinks she's Jean Grey. That gets all weird. And the X-Men, things get a little weird from time to time. But to continue on with Jean Grey's story, even though she goes through this up and down trials and tribulations of being the Phoenix, having absolute power, dying, being reborn, at some point she eventually does find happiness. She does marry the love of her life, the one and only Scott Summers, Cyclops, but it's not Wolverine. Well, it is her love of her life as well, but that's a whole nother story involving rooms conjoining and triple love affairs and polyamory and who knows. But bottom line is, in this particular book, one of my favorite characters in all of X-Men pops up. Yes, I love Magneto for so many reasons, but another one of my favorites, Mr. Sinister. I don't think Mr. Sinister, Eric Essex, gets enough love in X-Men. Like, they've kind of teased at him in the films, but never fully showed him.
Gave anything good for him yet.
And that's one of those characters I'm happy Fox never got to deal with.
Because they probably would mess that up.
Yeah, and so at least they're going to deal with it in a good way. And he's trying to steal Jean and Scott and use their DNA to create the perfect mutant child to ever be born, which turns out to be Cable. Yeah, the Josh Brolin in the Deadpool movie with the metal arm, yeah, that's the most perfect mutant in the world because he's the offspring of Jean Grey and Scott Summers. Figure that one out, people. We still can't figure that one out. But yes, she does have happiness. Yes, she does find love. Yes, they do find divorce.
For how long?
Yeah, not that long, because eventually Cyclops would remarry. He would marry Emma Frost, and they would have an entirely interesting, unique relationship, to say the least, in and of itself. But Jean would continue on. She would die. She would come back. And this would continue on to Phoenix Endsong. Now, this was another great story. This was after they rebranded the X-Men again as the New X-Men. They kind of retooled the universe a little bit, like they do every so often. And in this story, we see the Phoenix come back. We also see the introduction of the White Room, which is a room in which anybody who has ever housed the power of the Phoenix has a small part of themselves left, so they can have conversations with other passed ons. So this will eventually equal into a cool story that comes in a little bit.
So it's like split personalities right there. You go in there and you have all the other personalities.
Not necessarily that the other personalities can take control like somebody would split personality, but they are there as a conversation. Like you can kind of like T'Challa.
The voices in your head.
Yeah, kind of like T'Challa in the Kings of Wakanda, how he can kind of commune with them and stuff like that, but they really cannot impact anything. Like they can't possess him to be the Black Panther, even though they were all the Black Panthers. Same thing. Even though they were all the Phoenix and they can talk to her, they can't really jump back into the Phoenix power and be like, I'm the Phoenix again. No.
That'd still be weird having all those people in your head.
But it's not like they're concurrently in their head. They're in a special room, basically.
That she can go to.
Yeah, like anybody who has ever inhabited, it's like this really weird, unique location for all. Like basically, you would be talking to, like if you were possessed by the Phoenix at some point and you became possessed by it again, you would talk to a past version of yourself. That past version of yourself that you left inside of it, that's what you would be communicating with. So this actually evolves a little bit more into what you would see in Dark Phoenix a little bit, because the Shi'ar Empire decides that they want to destroy the Phoenix Force prematurely. Unfortunately, that opens up the Phoenix Force and makes it possess Jean Grey again, and even she realized it was too early. So the entire book is her trying to stop everything that is going on and these people trying to hunt her down and kill her, whilst also having all this power and trying to, in a way, go back to the grave. Like, she's like the Phoenix comes into another person. Version of herself. Take a shot.
Take a shot for that one.
Yeah, take a shot for that one. And the Hellfire Club gets involved again, and a lot of weird stuff. But in this, we would actually get the White Phoenix, not the green, not the red, but the full-on White Phoenix as originally intended, and gets rid of a lot of the problems that were kind of it was causing between Jean, Scott, this alien empire, the X-Men, and stuff like that. So really unique story, and then, once again, a little bit of the modern stories. Now, in 2017, they would revisit the Phoenix, and one of the most unique stories ever told. Because in this one, Generations, Phoenix and Jean Grey, that White Room comes into play, and a past version of Jean, as a teenager, meets the future version of Jean as she become the Phoenix, as she had become the Phoenix. So just as she's enveloped that power of the Phoenix, her younger self has a conversation with it. And then, if that didn't get any better, the Phoenix gets into a street fight with Galactus. And then you would be like, oh.
That would be an interesting little fight.
And then you're like, well, who would win in that fight, Galactus or Phoenix?
Phoenix.
Phoenix has to win. Galactus could kill her, but Galactus would kill himself in the process. Anybody who fights the Phoenix has to take that into consideration. Even Thanos fought the Phoenix at one point, and it had to come to that consideration of if you kill the Phoenix, you kill the Omniverse. And you can't kill the Omniverse because you'll kill yourself. So you got to let them win and just, all right, that's it. It's over. It's done with. You have the fight kind of thing. And Ua, the Watcher, is actually the one to help relay some of this message, and it helps Jean a little bit understanding who she's going to become. Because while she can't stop herself from becoming the Phoenix or the power that it comes with or what she will do with it, she can have a better understanding of what her place is in the universe or in the world or whatever you may want to call it.
Her place in the world.
And in this, she finally finds out that she is this omnipotent being. She is of the Omniverse. She represents all life and passion that exists in it. And that's a big, heavy burden to know that you were eventually going to have to hold. And then that would continue on into Phoenix Resurrection, the return of Jean Grey. And in this one, it's the final Phoenix story because Jean tells the Phoenix, I'm done. This is over. It's done with. I can't do this anymore. You know, the Phoenix keep on coming back, you know, dying, coming back, dying, coming back, dying, coming back, and constantly bringing Jean with it.
Yeah.
It eventually would take its toll on a person, especially seeing multiple timelines, multiple continuities, multiple friends getting murdered over this and stuff like that. You would hit your point. You would have to be like, I'm over. I'm done with this. And essentially, there becomes that agreement where the Phoenix Force leaves there and it goes off on its own. Like, Jean Grey and the Phoenix are no more.
And since then, it hasn't found a new host yet.
No, it hasn't. And who knows?
Who knows? It can come back coming up anytime then.
Exactly. Now, there's a lot of stuff that can go on with this. Now, with the Phoenix Force, and Jean Grey, we could literally spend hours on this particular topic because of how in-depth it is. We tried to give you the best Cliff Note version of this as we can with a couple key issues, but now we're going to get into the films and the cartoons.
Yeah, so the next time we see it, it's an animated series.
Well, the first time, we would see it in the comics first, and then we would see it first time played out in the animated X-Men, the animated series from 1992, one of the most beloved X-Men comic cartoons of all time, which you can see on Disney+.
I'm still watching on Disney+.
Yes,
and that was the first thing I watched when I got Disney+.
And this is the most accurate portrayal of
the storyline,
of the Dark Phoenix storyline that you would read in the omnibus that is out there. You see her go from being Jean Grey in the space shuttle accident that would give her that would have her run into the power of the Phoenix Force and then be corrupted, and then full-on Dark Phoenix, as you see in the red and gold attire. When she's in the green and gold attire, she's just Phoenix, still a hero somewhat, but when she goes to the red and gold, she becomes that Dark Phoenix, that evil character.
Control.
Exactly. And this would be the most accurate portrayal in another medium beyond the comic that would be closely related to the comic. Because the next time we would see Jean Grey, and once again, we can talk about how amazing the animated series is all day.
Before The Last Stand, you had the hint of her in X-Men 2.
Yes.
Which I didn't get the photos because all it was...
Actually, hold on. I will get to that one in a second, because you see Jean Grey start off in X-Men 1.
Yeah.
When the X-Men finally get their first feature-length film, Jean Grey is in it, and you see the love affair between her, Cyclops, Wolverine, all of that gets played upon. And
the mention of her being
when
the
we
most
start
powerful
talking about
character.
this leads all the way into from X1, X2 to X-Men: The Last Stand. And in X-Men: X2, there you see Wolverine and Jean Grey, and there you see the Phoenix Force come out, and there it is, full-on displayed inside the water after she had died trying to save
everybody in X-Men 2. Patrick Stewart, Xavier, has a thought. He just feels her coming back to life. They pan a camera. There's the Phoenix in the water. Then the next movie is where she's actually
full-on Dark
Earth.
Phoenix. It gets resurrected, and in this one we would see Charles Xavier get wiped to astronomical dust. We're not on that one yet, Rob. We're still on The Last Stand here. But yeah, you see the Phoenix Force come out in full force in this movie, and it was really unique because they teased it really well, so you got really excited for The Last Stand, and then The Last Stand comes out, and it's a mixed reaction. Some people really liked it, some people kind of hated it. I thought it was a fun, entertaining movie.
My opinion, I did not enjoy the movie because it's not how she should have been.
But even then, as we've discussed, how she should be is not how she should be. We kind of now realize that doing this research, but when we got the movie at the time, we did not realize that. Everybody was, and even today, when we talk about the next one, everybody wants that comic book. As nerds, we have this ingrained in us of our first stories that were told of these characters, and the popular stories of these characters we don't want to see it deviate from that at all, in any way, shape, or form. So even though Fox at the time was putting out the Dark Phoenix Saga and anything X-Men, they still couldn't use some of the stuff that was in the Dark Phoenix Saga. So I can understand that to a little bit.
The one thing I enjoyed about The Last Stand wasn't even her, it was Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler?
That was my favorite character in it. I'm like, okay, we get Nightcrawler.
For me, though, I enjoyed it.
Angel was in it as well.
Yes. I really liked certain aspects of this film. Of course, it's the Juggernaut bitch. We get a lot of great things in this film. As for the Phoenix storyline, though, I liked the character that they actually got to do it. And this actually, like I was saying, it's kind of that death rebirth thing.
Yeah.
Because after The Last Stand, it's the death of all the first 3 X-Men movies. After that, we see the rebirth with X-Men, Days of Futures Past, Apocalypse, and then into the Dark Phoenix movie. And that Dark Phoenix introduced Jean Grey in the Apocalypse movie, and then we would actually get to see her continue at the end of that movie, like the second X2 movie. We see her full-on regalia in Dark Phoenix.
So in Dark Phoenix,
shows off the power.
Still wasn't the best movie, but they kept it more. They tried keeping it to the origin. They go to space, go rescue the astronauts that were having an issue with the shuttle.
And even then, we see her display the power a little bit right here in a second as she's fighting Apocalypse, showing off that power in its rawest form at first. There you see the Phoenix itself as it burst up through her body, but she didn't have the full power of the Phoenix yet. It's the next one, Dark Phoenix, where, as you said, they go in space, and you see the Phoenix Force.
The Force just comes through there, then you see it happen.
And then you see some of those aliens that we were kind of talking about. They don't name them in this movie whatsoever. Yeah. There is the leader of them on the right-hand side, that blonde woman. She's trying to steal the Phoenix Force, but then Jean Grey realizes her purpose, realizes she is the most powerful entity in all of the Omniverse. She can control this better than anybody else can control it, and she lets it go. There are moments where you think, is she going to stay face? Is she going to go heel? Now,
she did kill someone though in it,
but not on purpose. It wasn't like in the comics where it was
more of a self-defense reason she did it.
Even then, it wasn't a self-defense thing because it was more of a involuntary reaction of her powers, just because of how powerful they were, and she still wasn't fully in control of them, got out of her hand. Unfortunately, she killed Mystique. Spoiler alert. But
Well, the movie's been out long enough. Hopefully everybody's seen it.
But it was considered the worst movie of 2019 that we found out today. I don't think it's justified a lot, because I think what really did this movie in was it was the last movie produced by Fox that would involve, before the rights of the X-Men would go over to Disney, which I'm so happy that they got to Dark Phoenix, because once again we now see that death and rebirth cycle in the movies now,
so
using the Phoenix.
Marvel Cinematic Universe can do an X-Men movie and hopefully do the storyline properly if they go down that road again.
Yeah, like even then, like with the Dark Phoenix movie, they did it, like with what material they had to work with, they did a pretty decent job. Now, here's something for you as we head into the last 2 minutes of this. Do you know what connects The Last Stand and Dark Phoenix beyond the character of the Phoenix?
Last Stand, because the one movie they had Stewart and all the original characters back in it.
No. You want to know what connects The Last Stand with Dark Phoenix? Not everybody knows this, but I believe his name was Simon Kinberg or something like that. He wrote The Last Stand.
Oh.
And then he decided, after a pitch meeting and working on this property a little bit, I can do that better. Really? You can do that better? Not only can I write it better, but I can direct it as well. Here you go. So the dude who wrote X-Men The Last Stand and that Phoenix that version of the Phoenix,
I had a part of the original one.
of X-Men The Last Stand, was the writer of that movie was the writer-director of Dark Phoenix. This explains a whole lot as to why the characters, and even then he thought he could do it even better than the time he did before, which, spoiler alert, he did it.
I'll admit the
Dark Phoenix was better than Last Stand.
I will admit that. I didn't enjoy Dark Phoenix as much, but I watched it again today, and it is better than The Last Stand. I enjoyed it more.
It was really
I was
entertaining.
actually surprised because I went in thinking, okay, this movie's going to be absolute garbage, but I'm going to sit down, I'm going to try to watch it, and I could actually sit down and somewhat enjoy it more and not yell at the TV the whole time.
Yeah, and once again, I think after some of the research we've done, some of the things that we've learned about this character and the Phoenix Force as a whole, it makes it a little bit more digestible. Yeah. But that's going to do it for us this week on Comic Book 101 TV. I had fun. I know he had fun. Please go check out anything about the Phoenix out there. There's more than enough out there. It's not the worst movie of 2019, regardless of what anybody says.
Next week, may the Force be with you. May the Force be with you. And
until next week, I am your wonderful, beautiful, printiful host, the Princess of Weird, Josh Johnson.
Michael from Cosplay in Tampa Bay.
And we will see you all next week.